I'm Tebogo Makatu, your host for this Netcampus Technology Fireside Chat. Today we are talking about a very interesting topic, and I have very interesting guests. They have a lot to share with our listeners and viewers. So please join us and come and listen. But also don't forget to share, to like, and to invite your neighbors, your friends who are interested in this topic of unemployment, poverty for our youth in the country. You know, we do have some important information to share, and so please come through and listen to us. Our technology fireside chat is about mainly a few things. One is to informally educate our listeners and viewers. We want to demystify technology because we are located in the technology space. But lastly, we want to create awareness on technology issues and concepts. And so really it will be worth your hour to come and listen to us. We are tackling the topical issue of youth unemployment, and so just come through. I have two experts, my colleagues, my friends, two executives of Netcampus who deal with these issues on a daily basis. They do have a depth of knowledge, and I know once you listen to them, you will know exactly what it is that is happening, the dynamics, the issues, the trends in our sector, what are the causes, and what are the results of this massive unemployment rate that we are facing in the country. Let me introduce them without any waste of time. They are here. I don't think they're very comfortable. They were forced to be here, but unfortunately, this is in the line of duty, and we have a duty to share information with the masses and the people of South Africa. Hello.
Hello.
Are you good?
We are good. Thank you for having us.
No, great. Thank you. So let's start by introducing ourselves. Just tell us who you are, what you do, what brings you here, and what makes you the person that we can listen to on this issue of unemployment for youth in South Africa.
Thank you, Tebogo, and thank you for having me today. My name is Nonhlanhla Njali, and I am the executive for the Net Youth Department, which mainly focuses on youth development initiatives. So, why are we here? Youth unemployment is a crisis. So, there's conversations that can be had around the issue. So my business unit basically looks after, any learning interventions or youth initiatives that basically propels to make sure that you introduce young people into the work environment, but more importantly, we give them the right skills and certification that they need for the jobs of the future. So I look after learnerships, I look after internship programs, and also graduate programs. And the solutions that I look after will be things that are aligned to the QCTO qualifications. And as I indicated, anything that has to do with youth empowerment development focuses under my business unit.
Great.
I've been in this skills development landscape for over 25 years. I think now I'm revealing my age.
Wow.
And the focus has always been on learning and development. So I've looked after the different facets within the landscape, whether it is accreditation from a quality assurance perspective, material development, but more importantly, managing learning initiatives and BE consulting, basically. So that has been my role on earth as a grown-up.
Your passion.
And my passion. I think more than anything else, I always say that within the youth space, we have to look at stuff that has an impact.
Yes.
And for me, it's always a question of what impact are we making, and which lives are we touching, and how is that going to improve or for the betterment of the community and the country as a whole.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That's shock.
Hello.
All right.
I know I can't complain.
Tell us about yourself.
Very happy to be here. Very happy to be here. And I think, in your introduction, you did say that we are forced to be here. I want to allude on that because, as you know, I'm very happy to be on the ground.
Yeah.
And me being here means, there might be a gap in the ground, but it's not because we've got a very strong force behind us, that keeps the wheels on the wagon. So I think from an introductory point of view, my name is Lunedi Sishoka, and I'm the operations executive for Netcampus. With a very strong team, the CEO has entrusted us with the responsibility, to keep the the wheels on the wagon for the business. That's pretty much what we do. But I think today is going to be slightly different to our day-to-day, as we are talking about youth unemployment, which is also, a very big space that we play in as an organization, not only from a passion point of view, but also, from a fulfillment point of view.
Yeah.
That's the cup that we drink from. And I think that's why we were more than happy to come and have this chat, to engage and hopefully create some awareness, for the people out there of the opportunities that are available, and maybe also look at expanding those opportunities.
Sure. Okay, so you are the execs, you are the people who clean the floor and wipe the windows. You do the work, and we're grateful, and I think it attests to some of the successes that we've had, and you have the stripes to show for it. But on this particular topic, there are some stats that are actually very shocking. And as I was checking the latest stats, I'm told that, there's, in the last quarter, there was 31.9% in the third quarter of people that are unemployed in general. But overall, there's 46% of youth that are unemployed, right? And 15 to 24, at the age of 15 to 24, there's 62.4% of people that are unemployed, and it goes lower. Between 25 and 34, you've got 40%. I think those are scary stats. If you look at it, 60% would mean 6 out of every 10 youth, 10 young people would be out of jobs. And I think for me, what is also alarming is the rate of unemployment amongst graduates.
Yeah.
We all have hope, especially for black people. When you send your kids to a university, and you think when they come back, they're gonna come back with a job. They're gonna assist carry the burden, and they're gonna also assist to get their younger sisters, neighbors, friends, cousins into the mainstream
and
also,
contribute to black tax
and contribute to black tax, right?
Yeah.
But there is that disappointment after all of that, and after parents have invested so much, and so I think at the heart of it and why we do what we do is to give hope and make sure that those guys that have been outside the main stream, they get into the economy as well. I'm told that 25% of university graduates are unemployed. Can you believe it?
Which is a crisis.
It's an absolute crisis, and we've seen in some of the programs that we run that it's really not a struggle to find an unemployed graduate. If we're running a
Definitely
program
not.
and we ask for unemployed graduates, they are there.
They're
And
really available.
They are readily available. And also in these sectors and job roles and skills that we think are in demand. So there must be a misalignment somewhere. There's a problem.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's the issue? What is going on?
It's good that you're raising that question, because there is an absolute misalignment I do believe that the institutions or formal institutions, they are not necessarily focusing on training the young people for the jobs of the future. They might exit with a degree or a qualification, but the question is, are you then able to enter a space where you can, where you have the right certification to be able to hold a space in those particular sectors? So I think this gives companies like Netcampus an opportunity to say what is it that is needed in the market, what is aligned to the trends that is not necessarily covered in the formal education institutions. And for me, the focusing on those critical certifications, it's what then is missing within the formal university structures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest should be done, for instance, by everybody, including universities and the formal institutions, to address this?
I think for me, before we even look at what needs to be done, is the stats that you read out, Debuho. It's quite alarming, and quite concerning as well, because if you listen to those stats as a person that's in learning, it really says to you, we've got a lot of work to do. We really need to roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty. And as you do that, that's when you start thinking of the how. You look at the structure of what is being taught at universities, what the graduates are taking out of that time that they spend at university. What does it mean in the real world? And that's where you then realize the gap. And the gap is what then learning institutions like ourselves need to address. Nonhlanhla also talks about, are they really, I'll call it training. Are they training for the future? Are they training for purpose? Or are they training just for the sake of having a qualification? Because the output thereof has an impact of when I've got my degree, am I ready to get into a workplace and start applying my skills? And the answer, sadly, is no. And that's when we can start looking at certifications to close the gap. Make sure that whatever that you're being trained for is fit for purpose, is what the market requires, is what will make you as an individual attractive to the market. So I think the how part of it is really a conversation that will require probably 2-3 other episodes outside of this one, but that's where we need to spend a lot of time, because that's where the impact that we're driving will come from.
Yeah. Do you think decision makers, authorities, legislators, what type of role do you think they have? What is it that they can do? And also, referring to the people that are putting together these curricula in universities, colleges, TVETs. What do you think? And also, do you feel that the trend is changing? Are they changing for the good? Are they coming towards employers and what employers need, or what are you finding?
So, in my opinion, there is a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah.
Because I'm not quite sure how does the calculation happen, and who do they engage with?
Yeah.
Do they actually look at the trends? And how agile are they as well in making changes to the qualifications when they see that trends are moving to a different direction? So there is a bit of a disconnect, because in my opinion, you need to understand what the industry requires, and you need to understand what the trends are for specific sectors for you to be able to put together a program or a curriculum that is fit for purpose. So in my opinion, I'm not quite sure if universities actually do like a thorough research, to identify what is it that we are supposed to be focusing on, so that whatever the students or the graduates are exiting with, they are able to step into a work environment and they are equipped with the right certification and knowledge and skills to be able to function in those spaces. Yeah.
So you can add, but maybe as you add, also just touch on the type of skills and the demand that we are seeing. What do you think Is that so that if I'm somebody who's doing this curricula and I'm thinking of what is it that the sector is needing, I can put together something.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think also to add on to what Nonsense said is there is a definite disconnect. The disconnect is there. It's very obvious. What is being done about it remains a big ask. When you look at the gap or the disconnect, you realize that there is also a need for collaboration between the curriculums that are being put together for these graduates and what the market really wants and needs, to make sure that the output really talks to that. Researchers need to really be open-minded, look at what is relevant, what works, what has worked, look at successes from other countries. We can actually learn quite a bit from that, instead of being stuck in our old ways that are proving not to work and not to bear any fruits for us. And I think you asked the question around the market, what gaps are there in the market. So our strong focus is obviously within the ICT market, and the biggest gap that one sees coming out of the graduates is the lack of communication / relationship or even collaboration between these institutions and vendors. The vendors are the ones that are pushing the market, and if you're not talking to the vendors, then you don't know what market you are talking to. So I think that will be really a big step that needs to happen. There needs to be proper collaboration with the learning institutions and these vendors.
So if I'm a legislator or a government official and I'm African and I'm thinking, no, we don't want to be aligning to people from outside the country. We want to do our own thing. We want our own, to create our own technologies, and we want to, what do you think? Do you think it can happen? Do we still have time, or is it something that can be done?
We operate in a global market.
Yes.
Right? So you cannot just focus on things that you believe will only work within the country. Because, we are now in the space where there's, gig economy, remote working. So I can be in South Africa and work anywhere in the world. Yeah. So whatever, collaborations, interventions, or issues that you look at within your country, you need to be looking at the wider globe, not just things that might work for South Africa. Yeah. South Africans are competing with the world, so they need to be prepared to be able to operate in those spaces. Yeah.
No, that's
and coming back to your question, you asked a question around what skills or certification is currently in high demand from a trend and what the markets are dictating at the moment. The biggest one is AI. I think we are in the AI bubble. So that is one certification or skill set that is up there at the moment. But then also we've got cybersecurity. In the last episode we spoke about cybersecurity, and we understand the importance of that profession at the moment. Data is a big thing.
Yes.
Because when they say big data, there's a reason why they are saying that, and there's a high demand for professionals within that space. I don't want to take all the points. Maybe we can add.
I think to the question, the decision makers, people in higher positions that are making the decisions, I don't think for them to be limited to looking just within the boundaries of South Africa would add any value or be beneficial for. We're talking unemployment or unemployed graduates within the country.
The blind leading the blind.
Exactly, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
We've got an import-export market, and when you're talking employment and unemployment, there's also import and export in the form of human capital. Where we'll find ourselves where the unemployment rate will constantly increase, because we then take skills from overseas and import them into the country, and that really what really contributes, or rather another contributing factor to the unemployment. We talk about there's people coming from other outside countries taking our jobs, but we are not willing to listen to what is happening in those countries to upskill ourselves to make sure that those jobs remain in-house or at home. So, I mean, there's international market. Nons talks about a global economy where we can also, to curb unemployment, have our own human capital resources servicing the international market, conducting business with people outside of the borders. So it's really important to make sure that, the thought process is not only limited to the country, but also speak to stakeholders, from other countries, to see what really contributes on their side.
Yeah. So I think that for me is very interesting, and I always see it as like a war for jobs. We have to do what we have to do to keep what is ours, right? We see a lot of employees, contractors from India servicing especially the bank market. I think lately really there's no issue, and it's not important to be in an office. We see it all the time. People can work from anywhere in the world and service any employer around the globe. So that what you're saying is true, but what we also need to inculcate in our people who are looking for jobs is that you need to be fully armed with the right weapons, the right skills for you to fight for your space in the market. And so it's not even about just getting a job. It's about making sure that we also protect our territory and making sure that I do believe that South Africa has got enough, is generating enough jobs. There are jobs, but they are just not with us. Somebody is servicing us. So in our space, we are accredited with a lot of global OEMs, your Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, and so on, and you can continue with the other ones. But what is the significance of that, just in terms of being located globally? Because when somebody writes an international certification and they're sitting in Johannesburg, they write exactly the same exam as somebody who's sitting in the UK, America, London, India, and so on. How can we leverage that then to make sure that we position ourselves for the global market, and we change our mindset that I'm not looking for a job here. I am a global citizen and I can compete with anybody. And that has been successful so far. What do you think is the issue? Is it our mindset? Do we think small? You can also sit in Joburg and work for a Cape Town company anyway. So there are no borders, and maybe it's us limiting ourselves, or what is the issue?
Tebogo, I would say, you touched on a skills mismatch. And I think, one very big contributor to that is awareness. And I think if we start addressing the awareness issue much earlier in terms of the career options that we've got available, that will help us, make sure that people are being trained with the future skills, or skills that will be fit for purpose. Way back when our parents, went through the career path, is you either had to be a police officer, a nurse, or a teacher.
Social work.
Or social worker.
Lawyer.
But gone are those days. Gone are those days. I mean, those careers, they're still relevant today. But the world has a lot more to offer. When you talk about the awareness thereof, is you think of a child that's sitting in Seshego in Limpopo. They are in a classroom with a teacher that maybe comes from the same village. They know what they know. So the career guidance that specific child will get in school will also be limited to what the teacher knows.
Yes.
So the awareness element that we're talking about, I think, is really what needs to, the intervention that can come in from these government programs that we've got, where they can go into the villages and create an awareness. The buzzing word today, Nons, is AI. We're talking about AI.
Yes.
We can make the assumption that everybody knows about AI and the stereotype that comes with AI as well. But you ask yourself, does a child sitting in a rural village in Eastern Cape know what AI is? Have they heard of AI? So I think there's an element of awareness that's required there that will talk to skills mismatch that we've got today.
I like that you touched on the awareness part. For me, that is critical.
Yes.
Because the awareness and access, when you lack those two things,
Yes.
you don't know better,
Yes.
right? You don't know what you don't know,
Yeah.
basically. What we have started doing within the Netcampus space, when we launch new projects, when we have a new initiative that we are launching, we spend a bit of time in terms of getting the candidates to understand what it means to get the type of qualification and certification that we have.
Yes.
What doors does it open?
Beautiful.
Because immediately when you share that bit of information, you can see the mind shift. You can see that, oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
That I'm now like a global, possible candidate, right? I can now get this certification, and I'm able to operate for a company in the UK, for
Yes.
example. The mere fact that you write exactly the same exam paper that someone might be sitting in the US writing at that moment, it's them realizing that this opportunity might be bigger than what I thought or
100%.
anticipated.
Yeah.
So that awareness is critical, because you see a shift in terms of commitment. You see a shift in terms of how they show up.
The
Because
confidence.
the confidence.
Yeah.
Because now they know that even if my this opportunity ends in 12 months, but I'm able to compete globally.
Yes. Yes.
And you know what they say? I'll be earning in dollars.
Yes.
And we've seen a number of those examples, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to bring it this AI concept. For some reason, if you're somebody that is sitting out there, you might think it's so technical. If I want to be an AI, if I want to go through AI training,
Yes.
it's too technical for
Yeah.
me.
And
It's not, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a lifestyle issue, because AI cuts across every sector, every role, every technology. Even if you're watching TV, you experience AI.
When you're navigating,
If you're navigating and you're using your Waze or
Yes.
your Google Maps, it's AI, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
My question to you is what do you think our leaders, and I'm asking this because we are running a program which is called AI for Leadership,
yes,
right? We encourage all the leaders to be aware of AI, at least understand what AI is, Klebatung, before you start making decisions
and
on
what
our
it can
behalf.
do in your space.
Batung,
Yeah.
please,
Yeah.
before you decide and you are a decision maker, can we at least all of us, and I'm not talking about government, when
Yeah.
we say leaders, sometimes we think government. We're not saying government, we're saying as a leader, whether it's a community program, whether it's a company, whether it's an NGO, a school, a principal, a teacher, Stockfell, chairman. What can AI do for you?
Yeah.
If we can touch on that, we are gonna take a break. But when we come back, please let's talk about that and encourage everybody to be on this bandwagon, because we've run a program for 100,000 South Africans just on AI fluency and awareness. What is
it means.
AI? But for leaders specifically, especially if you are in the IT sector.
Yeah.
You cannot afford.
You can't afford to
You
get left
cannot
behind.
afford. So yeah, we are available also to assist in that. But let's talk about it when we come back.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Compliments of the new season. Hi, my name is Tshepo Bogopa, account manager of Netcampus Group. Stuck after matric, graduated and still job hunting? If you're looking for your next big step, listen up. Whether you just graduated, matriculated, or you're just looking for a new skill, do not despair. Netcampus Group is running a multi-tier certification program with real exit certified levels. The self-funded program gives you an alternative path to traditional qualifications in mastering AI, mastering data, mastering cloud, as well as cybersecurity, with international certifications to get you job ready. Are you ready to get started? Contact us at mastertech@netcampus.com or go to our website at www.netcampus.com. Invest in yourself and see your possibilities flourish. Unlocking your potential begins today.
Hi, welcome back after a very short break. I just want to remind you that we are watching the Netcampus Technology Fireside Chat. Please remember to follow us. Our handle is Netcampus Info 2276. Netcampus Info 2276. We also on our website www.netcampus.com. If you want to email us on info@netcampus.com. Yeah, let's continue on this interesting subject. When we took a break, we were talking about AI for leadership, and we were just, exploring this topic of how far should our leaders understand technology as well. We're running AI for leadership courses, and please tell us about it. What do you do for leaders?
So, AI, as I said, it's a buzzing word. Everybody's talking AI, but does everybody really understand what is AI? Remains a big question. So we've ran, as you said, a very big campaign called AI Fluency, where really the mandate there was to make sure that people understand what is AI and the opportunities within AI. And it's so heartwarming that when you sit in those sessions and they talk about examples every single day. If I'm meeting you for lunch, Teboho, I need to check the traffic, on the way to where we are meeting. That is a form of AI, but people are not aware. So that kind of awareness came from the AI Fluency course that we ran.
It's a lifestyle issue.
It's a lifestyle. It really is. It's exactly that. But if you take it one level higher, is you now start talking to the leaders. Once they understand what is AI, the impact that it can have within their organizations. I remember a couple of weeks ago we bumped into another gentleman, and as we're having the same conversation, he's within the health sector, and there was a conversation that popped up there where we spoke about AI for health practitioners. So there is such opportunities. We talk about AI for educators. Automotive industry, they're talking about self-driving cars. There's also an opportunity in there for people within the ICT space. So AI really goes into every single aspect of our daily lives, sometimes directly or indirectly. But when you're talking to leaders about it, leaders need to understand that there's going to be future jobs that can come out of AI. And really, I think that is where we are now. Taking us back to the point that you made earlier on, is it advisable for our leaders to be really collaborating with leaders outside of the borders, or should they keep it all in-house? But when you start talking to people outside, you actually really understand that there is future jobs that will come out of AI, but we will not prepare our youth for those careers when it happens. They need to start being prepared now.
Yeah. And I think we are already there, hey?
We are there.
There's a number of professions that never existed. Now they
Yeah.
exist. I mean, there's
Like podcaster.
No, prompt engineer.
Yes.
I remember the first time
Yes.
when I heard that term, I'm like, what is a prompt engineer? But then I thought, oh, because you have to actually feed, right?
Yes.
The right information.
Yeah.
Then that can actually be a profession.
Yeah.
So there's quite a number of jobs already that are within the AI space.
Yeah.
But I think, like Ludedi said, there's more to it because when you start analyzing what is happening in the different sectors, you know, health, for example, automotive is huge right now around AI. So people at leadership level, for them to be able to make the right decision and be able to identify what sort of short-term, medium-term, and long-term skills would they need in their sector,
Yes.
they will then know what sort of upskilling or reskilling or, you know, how they develop the new pipeline to be able to meet the gap or to close the gap.
Yeah. Don't you think it's a bit, I don't want to say scary, but it's alarming that you have driverless cars,
Yeah.
driverless buses, driverless trains.
Yeah.
What does it mean? I mean, in our time when we were growing up, if your dad is a driver of a truck, you mean the money is coming in.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Now those jobs are probably, you know, being phased out.
Yes.
Or they are reducing.
Yes.
You know, in these manufacturing plants where they manufacture parts or they assemble cars, robotics is another, you know, technology where robots are being used to do some of those jobs, to automate, to increase quality, to expedite. And so for employers and companies, you cannot also blame them. They want to maximize profit and they want to do all sorts of things. The issue is how then do you align yourself, get new skills to be relevant. Also in the pharmaceutical industry, there's talk about the relevance of pharmacists.
Yes.
You know, because robots can do some of these things.
We've
they
seen
can
that.
count.
We've seen
How
that.
many pills
Yes,
really can
we've
you?
seen that.
I mean, robots can really
Yeah.
count and they can check and instead of 51 pills, they'll count 50 exactly. So it's those things. And I think when you really think about that, the impact is huge. And you'd rather be on the other side where you are programming these things to happen.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity for our kids to do exactly that.
Yeah.
We are on the other side and our jobs might be you know, reduced a bit, but our kids need to be the ones that are the data scientists.
Yes.
You know, the prompt engineer. You said prompt engineer.
Prompt engineer, yeah.
Prompt engineer, AI engineer, data analyst, cyber security
Yes.
specialist, and so on and
Yeah.
so on. Yeah.
But even the people that are currently in those professions, for me, I strongly believe that there is still an opportunity from a reskilling and upskilling perspective, because that person already has the experience, right, in that particular space or sector, and they understand what is it that we can do to make this better, right? So now, yes, you will have to collaborate with your your engineers or your software developers that are coming into the industry, but your experience also contributes towards fine-tuning that value chain that whatever it is that is being put in place is going to operate in. So as much as you might necessarily lose your job in the current state, but there's an opportunity for you to be upskilled and reskilled into a better position.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would you say if somebody says, oh, listen to the prophets of doom now? They're coming to say jobs are going to be, jobs being replaced and so on. What would you say to them, and what would you, is it scary or is it an opportunity? What do you think?
I honestly don't think this is something to be scared about, Teboho. This is not the first time that this is happening. This has happened back in the ancient days. I mean, if you look at how manual labor used to happen, I mean, if you look at farmers, before they had tractors, everything was all manual. But then tractors came into being and there was a form of automation, less manual work, but you get to produce more. and maybe even of a better quality. That's exactly what we're talking about when you talk about AI. When you talk about AI within the healthcare center, those robots, someone needs to program them. There's an element of support that's going to be required. When you talk about self-driving cars, there's a security element, so there's an opportunity for cybersecurity. That's just to say the least. So with all of these changes that are coming, the enhancements also create new roles, new jobs, new opportunities for reskilling for the people that are already in the job. So I really don't think it's something to be scared about. It has happened in the past. It's just a matter of making sure that you are open-minded and adapt.
Yeah.
And adapt. Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Learn a new skill. If when we're in the new year, everybody's talking about New Year's resolutions. I want to learn to play the guitar, learn a new language, learn this, learn that. How about you learn a new skill?
No. I want to lose weight.
I'm gonna go to gym. You do that for 1 week, you forget about it. But let it become a lifestyle where we are learning these new skills, because these new skills will also contribute to the future, and will also help us to shape the young ones, because we can't shape them from a point of not knowing. Yeah, so I honestly don't think it's something to be scared about. Actually, it's something we should be excited about, because there's gonna be new opportunities. There's no monotony. There's no redundancy. We are getting outside of that comfort zone.
Yeah, I remember somebody was saying, especially for leaders, it's also around allocating budget.
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
it belongs, because you know how bosses are. As soon as IT comes and say they need this, they're like, oh. You always want money.
Is it important? Does it have to happen now? Yeah.
So, but if you're open-minded and you understand some of the concepts, it really is not technical, and you don't have to be technical. It really assists in the decision-making process and repositioning our organizations. So, as we move then to other issues, I know that we are running so many programs, and between the two of you, you can tell us lots of stories. And but I just want to understand, and I think, without blowing our own horn, we've been quite successful at, rolling out programs.
Yes.
For
Absolutely.
youth. And I'm wondering, what is it, other than the fact that we love our youth, we just love that. And so a lot of decisions that we do make are in their favor.
Yeah.
So, but technically speaking, and when you roll out, what are the types of things that you look out for to make sure that as you start, your output will be successful? I know you might not want to say your secrets on camera, but it's just important that we I guess, especially for the sake of the unemployed graduates, to look out for certain things that are in place to avoid the disappointment at the end.
I'm glad you actually asked that question. I think the recruitment process is for me the foundation to a successful project or initiative. How you select the people that are going to be part of the program, and the mindset of those individuals, and we always say to our delegates when they come for interviews, because we do actually go through a structured recruitment process. We always say to them, if your end goal is not gainful employment, I might not be the best fit for a Netcampus.
If you're chasing a stipend,
don't
come here.
Don't come here.
Oh, okay, I'll tell them.
Because yes,
John Sandler is saying, if you are after a stipend,
Don't come here.
come here because you want the job.
100%.
You want the skill and you want the job.
100%.
Because with us, we are not training for the sake of training. We want to contribute meaningfully, and change lives of the young people. So with every process that we follow and every step that we take, we make sure that the end goal is that we achieve that end goal. Now, if you don't have the right mindset, you might not necessarily be able to see the journey through.
Yes.
So I think the recruitment process and making sure that as much as you are recruiting them, but you're also empowering them at the same time, so that they understand that don't just look at this opportunity as a 12-month opportunity, whether it's a learnership or an internship, and don't just look at it as a learnership. Just look at it and say, I always joke with my learners and say, you are going to be absent at economy. You know what you're going to be absent. Tell yourself that once I'm part of this program, I'm kick-starting my career journey, basically. Because look at this as an opportunity for you to get the right skills, knowledge, and experience to be able to kickstart your employment journey. So I think that's one thing or issue that I think is critical. Getting the right people, who are hungry, who wants this. And I think also support. As much as we can be very strict with our programs, but we provide support. We are there. We need to understand what are you struggling with. Are there any issues that where we can actually get involved and be able to assist you? Carry the learners when they are in the workplace. We carry them to make sure that they are given an environment, or they're in the environment where they can thrive and where they can actually achieve what they set themselves up for. And monitoring. These initiatives are a lot of work. A lot of work. It's blood, sweat, and tears. But I think if you do not have your monitoring process or ducks in the row, unfortunately, certain things will fall in the cracks, and then it might not necessarily be successful. Yeah. I mean, when we look at our initiative, we are now teetering at 98-99% success rates in terms of competency or certification, but then more importantly, placement and absorption. For us, it's that's the ultimate goal, to make sure that these people ultimately they are in the workplace, they are able to actually gainfully, be gainfully employed. So when you start looking at the numbers, you realize that it's a lot of work, yes, but we are doing something right. And I think at this point we have nailed the formula.
You've nailed it.
We've got it, eh? We've got it.
It's not perfect, but I think every time we have challenges, we learn something new, and we find solutions and make sure that with the next rollouts, with the next project, we implement those solutions. And I can't wait to report at some point and say,
here's our stats.
We've got 100%, and our learners are executives somewhere, which is possible, by the way.
Of course.
Because over the years, you get to meet people, and they'll be like, I started in a learnership. I'm like, oh wow, so it does work. I'm a product of an internship. It was not funded, but I started my career as an intern, so it does work.
It works.
Look at you now.
Look at you.
Teboho, you say sometimes we don't want to blow our own horns.
Yes.
But I think it's also important. Because that's where we get the motivation from. It's also very important to look at your successes and say, we did this. Kudos to the team. And as Nonhlanhla saying, our success comes from the people. It comes from the people. So despite the skills that the people have, you need to make sure that as you go through the interview process, you pick up the people that are hungry for the opportunity, hungry for learning, hungry for the skills, people that want to make a change in their own lives, because that's the type of attitude that you need. And once you've got the right attitude, you bring them into a classroom, and they get to experience our trainers. And that is something else. We're talking highly skilled individuals, and skilled to a specific role. So we don't have one size fits all approach. Our trainers are specialists within their own fields, their own paths, and that's why the output looks the way that it does. So once they've gone through that training process, we also have a host of network of employers. And this network that we're talking about is not something that happened overnight. This is years and years of relationships. And once this young people have been put in those jobs, there is a monitoring process where we follow them at the workplace to make sure that this workplace is offering what we had agreed on. And also from our side, equally, we need to make sure that we are also contributing to that space, so that at the end of the course, we can also start looking at the absorption process, because it's not only about placements within the space, but the bigger picture is to focus on absorptions where real jobs are created. We don't want these people going back, at home to be driving the sun, as you say. So there's an absorption process that we really focus on, where our youth then stay into jobs where we see a big change in those stats that we spoke about earlier on. And it was said, the formula is not perfect, but we take an agile approach. We know that for this specific program or this specific project, we need to be agile, and that's how we will get our successes. And we talk about stats. Non spoke about a 99% placement stats in one of the programs. But I think when we talk about the stats, and we look at them at a percentage level, we're also not doing justice to our successes. Sometimes we need to look at the bigger pictures, because 99% of 10 people means what? 99% is funny because you don't get half a person. It's going to be 9 people placed. But as soon as you go into the thousands and you're talking of a 99% statistic, then you can see the impact that we're really talking about, So, and at that point is where you also see the importance of blowing our own horn. We've got the formula. We know it works. We know what needs to be tweaked and changed for it to work. But also at the same time, let's blow our own horn.
So I take it you're talking to a decision maker right now who's got the funds and the budget.
Who's got the funds and the budget?
To deal with unemployment. I agree also. We've been around for a very long time and we know what we're doing. But I think I just wanted to touch on 2 issues that you spoke about. The whole issue of support. For me, and I'm not on the ground, I don't get to the level of support that you do, but the one that I personally make sure that it happens is lunch. Is lunch for the interns and the learners. That is very important. And a lot of the times we are not paid for it, but we provide that because we understand and we come from a society where that lunch might be the only meal for the day. And so if you don't provide that lunch, you're not encouraging people to look forward to going to class.
Be there.
But also when they are there, they can focus, they can concentrate, and they can interact in the class and so on. So on that one, kudos.
Sure.
I know.
It's
and
not only lunch, by the way. It's tea and lunch.
No, it's
Yes.
tea and lunch. It's in the morning, tea and sandwiches, and lunch is a cooked meal with veggies and protein. So it might look like a small thing, but when you do it for a lot of people and you're doing it for a particular reason, and by the way, the very people you providing lunch to will complain. They're like, how? But
where's the caviar?
Nobody's even paying us for
Yeah.
this, but
Look-
but that's a good one.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's I'm happy you say that because one can easily overlook that.
Yes.
One can easily overlook that, and I think when we engage with the decision makers,
Yes.
we also table that fact, and for that, I think we also need to give credit to our CEO. For the heart of Ubuntu that she has, that she makes sure that for every time that you invite your interns on site, they need to be fed.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people come from an underprivileged background where like you say, they could only be the only meal for the day.
Yeah.
And we also talk about removing the noise
Yes.
from the learning environment. Where a person is here but they could be worried about their next meal.
Yes.
And by virtue of giving them that lunch, you have taken that noise away, so they can focus better and be able to deliver the results that we're looking for. And that's what is going to contribute to our economy in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also part of removing that noise is the fact that we are all at the same level when we are having lunch. No one
Yeah.
is having amasi,
No.
putu.
No.
Everyone is having
The same.
meal.
Yeah.
So that on its own, it is part of that removing the
Ubuntu.
noise, because
Yeah.
then you can just focus on just learning.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and then the other issue that I thought is worth mentioning or reiterating, because you mentioned it, is the fact that we also eat our own dog food.
Yes.
A lot of the highly qualified, highly certified trainers that you have in your space, and we do have close to 50 highly certified trainers. If our listeners and viewers are looking to either get training from us, a lot of them would come from this avenue
Yes.
of internships, learnerships, and
Absolutely.
so on. So, we're not talking about something that we are not using. We also gaining from that, and we're making money out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to move on now, you already spoke about programs that you are running, learnerships,
Yes.
internships, and so on.
Yeah.
But you also do have flagship programs, and the reason I want us to focus on the scale, the programs that are at scale, is because we're facing this big, massive problem. And I'm hoping, by sharing some of our experience in some of the big projects, we can alert decision makers that
Yes.
this can be done.
Yeah.
It is a crisis, but if certain things are in place, we can make a big impact. And so if we focus, for instance, on the Kagisano program, where we trained 4,000 young people nationally, what was the takeaway from that? Both good and bad, problems and issues. I'm sure I've seen you were not as grey as you are now, but we can also quickly round off this discussion with that. We just want to understand the issues, challenges, and so on, but also the achievements.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can touch on that, and then Nons can also add, because she's the chief investigator.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, growing up and you see this old man with gray hair and they say, this is wisdom, and you think, that's old age. You really understand what it means. I think for every gray strand, there's a story behind it. Whether be it a good story or a bad story, it is a story nonetheless, So, this program, our flagship, Kagisano Labor Activation Program,
Funded by Department of Labor.
funded by the Department of Labor, and again, I think, they looked at the framework of the program, and it made sense. We were given an opportunity to do this national rollout for 4,000 unemployed graduates, and when you look at the 4,000 people that need to go through a recruitment process, training, placement, and you ask yourself, how in the world are we going to do this? And I think that's where the gray strands started carrying out. But we sit here today and we look back on the journey, and you look at the successes of that program, the lives that have been changed through that program, it was not easy. It was not easy, but there's a lot of stories to tell. I think, there's key facts that I can cover that really contributed to the success of the program. I know there was a recruitment process, a training process, exams, preparing the beneficiaries for interviews, them going into those interviews, following them to the workplace. All of that was a journey. But for me, I think, when we talk about this labor activation program, what really made it special and different from many other projects, and for this, I think we need to give kudos to the Department of Labor, is part of their offerings is they gave these beneficiaries tools of trade. And that was a major differentiator for all these courses, all the other programs that we've had, Nons. That basic tools of trade that we're talking about there is what makes employers want to listen about these people that we're talking about. Because you are coming...
What's the tools of trade?
Yeah, we often get... reminded, don't talk about jargon, and you need to tell us what you're talking about. So when you talk about tools of trade, Department of Labor funded a laptop as part of the offerings on this program. They also allocated a laptop bag, some other goodies. Bluetooth headsets were in there. There was a memory stick, multi-charger, so all sorts of bits and bobs that really make this package attractive, and so that not only attractive but also workable, so that when they get to a workplace, they've got a basic start. You don't get into a workplace and you sit in there with a A4 exam pad and you're taking notes. Yeah, you still need to be created an email address. We don't know how long that's going to take, but when you go into employment, you already have the fundamentals of doing the work. Not only do you have the skills that we spoke about earlier on, but you also have the tools to implement those skills and contribute to the organization. And we know if you are in business, you know the cost of onboarding an employee. Before they walk into the door on the first of that specific month, we need to make sure that we've allocated a chair, a desk for them to sit. They now need to have a laptop. We talk about connectivity, just to say the least of the costs. If now a funder is saying we are taking away half of that burden for you to give this individual an opportunity to get into a workplace, who would not want to look at that individual? And on top of that burden that we've taken away, Nons, we're talking about the international certifications that the funder has also paid for. So I think there's some good stories that come out of that. If we start talking about Kahiswana, I think I'm gonna cry. I'll cry. So Nons, let me give you an opportunity to also just add on.
Yeah, and please, as we round off this discussion, you can also quickly touch on the stats of the placement and the jobs and all of that. And we're gonna get to the end of it. We're enjoying it, but hey,
all good things come to an end. So as I said, the program was a national rollout. We had individuals from all the 9 provinces. That was for the first cohort. Second cohort, there was some provinces that did not take part, but if we look at provinces like your Eastern Cape, and again, Eastern Cape, we're sitting on both cohorts at I think 100% placements for both rollouts.
Well done.
Yeah, so that tells you that the number of jobs that are being created in a province like Eastern Cape. We're talking about the Northern Cape, KZN, where the stats are showing. So overall placement at for cohort 1, we're sitting just below 70% at the end of the term. And then cohort 2, which is still ongoing, I think we're going into age 2 of that rollout. We're already sitting at close to 80% of the placements.
Well
And
Yeah.
this is where, you know, the problem that I have with the percentage stats comes into play, because when you're talking 80% placement, you don't even know what number we're talking about. But when you say 80% of 2,000 unemployed graduates,
Yes.
it really starts to make sense. And we are talking about someone from Limpopo, someone from Eastern Cape, someone from rural KZN that have gotten jobs as an output of this specific program that was funded by the Department of Labor.
Perfect. Thank you.
I love that, because I always say that when it comes to numbers, for me, you know, changing one person's life
Yeah.
has such a domino effect, right? In terms of what that translates into from that individual's life from a career perspective, but then also within the immediate family, extended family, community, society,
Yes.
and the economy as a whole. So now, when you start looking at, 99% or 98% of 60,
Yes.
that is huge.
Yes.
And when you start talking about
The
2,000,
thousands.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is enormous.
It changes the picture.
So the impact
Yes.
for me is what
Yes.
is very
Yes.
important,
Yes.
critical in terms of, yes, we do have those gray hairs. And you joke that I became an investigator in the process. I wear my badges.
SIU.
You know, I'm an SIU.
Lieutenant General.
Yeah. We won't call names. Yeah.
But I think we learned a lot.
Yes.
And when I joined the business, you were rolling out phase 2.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, how are we going to accomplish this? and you know, you don't ask questions for too long.
No.
Yeah.
You move.
Yeah.
You move with
Yeah.
the people that are moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to look back now
Yes.
and see their success. And you know, you go to roadshows, for example, you meet these young people
Yeah.
and what they are now doing with their
Yes.
lives, and then you realize that, oh my goodness, you were part of that group that was
Yes.
a camp, and
Yes.
this was the chaos that was happening
Yeah.
at the time. But you look at the output, you're like, wow. Yeah.
You know, definitely, it gives us pride and joy, and we are here to unlock potential.
Yes.
We also like saying that we rise as we lift, or we lift as we rise. And so this is us. That's who we are, and that is what makes us tick.
Yes.
That's the basis for our business.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been great having this nice chat. I know my colleagues here refused to do this, but you know, we have a duty to share the information that we have. And so for more information on Netcampus, please follow us on all our socials. And also remember, Netcampus info at, what is it? Netcampus info 2276 is our YouTube link or handle. Yeah, you know, just follow us and make sure that you attend our webinars, seminars, free sessions that we run from time to time, and you will surely gain and pick up a few pearls of wisdom. Thank you very much.